Hello Peaches! So today's video is a little bit different. I have a cup of tea here with me in my witch's brew cup. It's watermelon tea, so it's like really red, like blood red almost. Pretty cool. And it smells a little bit like poop in here because I just changed a poopy diaper on my son. So you know that scent is in the air, which is kind of fitting for this video because it is kind of shitty. I am the type of person who, when I have to talk about something serious, I very often make a little bit fun of it and make some jokes, especially in the beginning, and then sometimes I can get slightly serious. But I have a hard time not being like sarcastic and yeah, doing that. But I will try not to as much as possible, but I can't help it. So as you can see from the title, I have borderline personality disorder. I was recently diagnosed, very recently actually, and this video will be quite long I think. So I'm just going to quickly tell you guys what's going to happen, and then I will leave timestamps in the description down below as well. So first I'm going to talk about how I found out, and how I kind of started the process of getting the diagnosis. And then I'm going to talk about my symptoms, and then in the end I'm going to talk a little bit about how I told my family, how they're dealing with it, and how I'm dealing with it, and all those kind of things. But as I said, timestamps in the description down below to all the things I'm going to talk about. I did think about just making this a very quick video where I just quickly explained every symptom I have, but I also do want to get into it properly because it is a bigger thing, it is a serious thing, and I feel like people need to know exactly what's going on, because I heard about borderline many times, but because I just saw the headlines of it all, I was like, well, that's not me, I don't have that, that's can't relate at all. But because I saw another YouTuber explain it, that they had it, and also explain in detail their symptoms and stuff, I all of a sudden I could see myself in it, you know, I recognized myself in it. I was like, oh shit, these are some of the things that I do, and these are some of the things that I feel, that I always felt were something that not everyone feels and does. But I was also like, but it's not part of my schizophrenia. You know, in case you don't know, I have paranoid schizophrenia. I still have that. This is not like, oh, it turns out I had borderline all along. Well, I also had that, but I have both. So I'm just a lucky kind of gal. I have everything. But yeah, I had a bunch of things that I was like, this isn't right to feel this way and to act this way. It's not normal, but it's also not because of my schizophrenia, because it's not, yeah, it doesn't align with those symptoms. And then I saw this YouTuber's video and I was like, oh shit. I was so shocked when I saw that, because I was really like, you're just explaining every problem I have that I cannot explain. So after that, I went online. I know the internet is not the best thing, but that's all I had. I don't know any doctors, and I didn't want to like schedule an appointment with my therapist before I kind of had an idea of what it was. I'm not one of those persons who Google my symptoms and then see something and then it's like, alright, I have that, it's 100%, I'm sure that I have that thing. I don't do that, but I am the kind of person who uses it as a tool, as kind of a thing that helps me, guide me in the right direction. So I googled this and I searched all the symptoms. I watched a bunch of different YouTubers and people online who talked about it, both people who have it but also like doctors, so I could get the best idea. And again, this isn't me self-diagnosing myself. This was me finding out whether there was a possibility that I might have it, and then I could get it diagnosed later. I'm not self-diagnosed, by the way, with any of my mental health disorders. Just want to clear that out, because I think that's wrong. There's a reason why psychiatrists go through such a long education, so you cannot self-diagnose yourself. I'm sorry, you just can't. But anyway, so I did research just to see if there was anything to it. If it was just that one YouTuber who explained it in a weird way, maybe, I don't know. But I researched a lot and I came through more and more things that I was like, this is me. This is so me. And again, I wasn't self-diagnosing, but I was like, alright, if I don't have borderline, then I don't know what the fuck is going on. But yeah, what I did then was I wrote everything down. in a Word document, and that's also what I'm going to use here. It's very long and it's in Danish, so I'm not just going to read it out. I'm not going to translate it either. I'm just going to use it as a guidance to what I'm going to talk about, so don't worry. But because it is really long, because I just wrote down everything. Because when I researched all of this, I was like, I couldn't finish one thought before another one started, you know. I was like reading this and I was like, oh my god, I have this is like the time that, and then oh my god, but I also have this, and this also, oh, and this also makes sense, you know. I had so many things in my head where I was like, I need to just, because I could not finish a thought, and I was at still same time I was like, I know I have like a bunch of hundreds of thousands of symptoms. So I decided to write it down in detail. I didn't just write like, I have this, I have this, I have this. I wrote down like examples of when I experienced these things. I wrote down things that I don't really do anymore, but that I used to, and the other way around, and things that I always done and always had. And I wrote it down in detail. Again, examples, all that. Which was the best thing I did, because then my mind was like, chill, because now I had it. I had all the symptoms. I had everything in detail described as good as I could with words. All of this happened when I was pregnant. The problem with that is that when you're pregnant, your hormones go kind of crazy, obviously. So you have emotions and you have feelings that you normally don't have. So what I did when I wrote this was that I did not count, like I think I was like 6 months pregnant at this time. So I didn't think about the last 6 months of my life, because, you know, those doesn't count. I thought about before I got pregnant and then all the way back to my teen years, because that's when it usually starts. And that is definitely when I see these things starting. I will get into that later. So I did not think about my pregnancy time at all. I just want to clarify that. But this all happened during my pregnancy. So I obviously also could not get the diagnosis while I was pregnant, because, you know, that's just not how it works. Like, the psychiatrist will not give you a diagnosis based on what you remember you being like 6 months ago, you know, because maybe it changed after I given birth. No one knows that. So I waited and waited and waited. Then I gave birth, and then I waited a few months, because right after you give birth, your hormones are more crazy than when you were pregnant. You're all over the place. And then I talked to my doctor, and we had to figure out if I had it, and I answered a bunch of questions. And then, yeah, I have it. They gave me the diagnosis, because based on all the questions I answered, they were not like, it was sure that I had it. They were pretty damn sure. So, yeah. That's how I found out, basically. Then I'm going to talk about my symptoms, how I experience them. All of these symptoms are, again, my experience. Most people with borderline have most of these symptoms, but it doesn't mean that you have all of them if you're borderline. It also doesn't mean that you only have these if you're borderline. And, you know, you can also experience them slightly different than I explain here. So these are just like my symptoms and how I experience them. So now let's get into my symptoms. The first symptom is that I'm very impulsive. This is one of the main things with borderline. People with borderline are very impulsive. And I'm especially impulsive when it comes to money, which sucks. I am very bad with economy. I spend my money like that. When I get them, I will spend them. If someone hands me $1, I will go down and spend it on something. And that's a dumb thing, because even if I don't have anything to spend it on, even if I'm not like wanting to buy something, I still feel like I have to use them. A good example is that whenever I go shopping, if I don't buy something during that shopping spree, I just, that doesn't happen. I can't. Even if I'm looking through all the stores and there's like nothing that I like, there's nothing I want, there's nothing I need, I will buy something. I will be desperately looking for something. Then I will go into H&M and buy a pair of earrings that is like, I guess they're alright. I guess I can use them sometimes, you know? And I'm very impulsive. Like, if I know that I don't have money to spend on something, I will still spend it if I find something that I want. I can go the entire day thinking like, alright, I have to save up money because I want this tattoo, or because we want to buy a new couch or something. And then the second I see something on my phone, for example, something popping up, a dress, a plushie, a action figure, a makeup product, whatever it may be, I will be like, I need that, I have to buy that. And then all the thoughts of like, you have to save up money, just like, buy. It's not like I'm ever been in danger of being kicked out of my apartment or anything like that, because I always pay my bills, because that's just like automatic, which is really great for someone like me. But it does suck that I cannot save up to anything. Like, I cannot. And it's so frustrating. Another thing where I'm impulsive, that you probably know if you've been here a while, is my hair. Now, my hair, ever since I came back, it has been the same. It's been black, it's been, yeah, the same hairstyle, just a little bit longer, because I'm growing it out. Because I am really fucking controlling myself. But I have the biggest urge to just cut something or dye something. And this is not just the quarantine speaking, because I know everyone feels this way right now. Just to do something. But I've always been like this, and you guys know that if you've been here a while. I've had every hair color there is. I have every combination of hair color there is. I've had every haircut. And it's always impulsive. It's never something like I think about a lot and it's like, oh yeah, I need that. I thought about it for a few months and I still want it. Like, no, I can go out and take a razor and just be like, bye. I've done that a few times. Both with my whole head. I've done that twice. I don't regret the last time, because I actually thought about that one, and there was many reasons for that. I'm not going to get into that. I made a video about it called Why I Shave My Head. But you know, I also done like side cuts, and I did a mohawk, and I cut it short, and all those kind of things impulsively, which is so bad. And there's also some other things where I'm impulsive. It's like, I bought a cello. Yeah, I bought a cello when I think I was 16. I never had any experience with instruments. I learned how to play guitar when I was 16, and it was like on my own, kind of like I learned it myself kind of thing. But I never had any musical background, especially not with classical music. I love classical music, but I never like studied music. I don't know how to read, yeah, sheet music, I guess you call them. No idea. But there was this YouTuber that my dad and I watched back then. He played the cello and he was really amazing, made some awesome covers. And then I was like, I need a cello, I need to learn that. So instead of like researching how hard it is to learn that instrument, this is not like a learning how to play the guitar a little bit, learning a few chords. That's kind of easy because I did that. This is a cello. This takes years to study, and you have to know how to read sheet music and all those kind of things. This is not just something that you like sit down and like, oh yeah, I'm just going to play a little bit and like hippie kind of thing, you know. I didn't do that. I went out and bought a cello right away. And spoiler alert, I never learned how to play it. And to make this situation even dumber is that a few years after that, like 3 or 4 years after that I think, I went out and bought a violin. Like, that's not exactly as hard as learning to play the cello. It's just as hard. It's not the same instrument, of course, but you have to use kind of the same techniques and stuff like that, I guess. The cello is just a big violin, basically. But I didn't care. I went out and bought one. I was like, well, it's something different. I'm older now. I totally will know how to do it. Spoiler alert, I did not learn how to play it. These are the things I do. These are the impulsive things I do. I impulsively cut and dye my hair. I've been very good. Like, look how long it has gotten. There's nothing cut. There's no side cut. There's no mohawk. There's nothing cut. I'm so proud of myself. And it's been black for a long time, because black is the color that I always feel most comfortable with. It's the one that I always go back to. And then I'm also impulsive with just random stuff like, alright, I'm gonna learn how to play the cello now. The next thing is identity. Or more like trouble finding my identity. But yeah, this is also very common if you have borderline, is that you have a hard time finding your identity, which I definitely have, and have always struggled with. I feel like I don't know myself, I don't know who I am, and especially in the past it's been like totally bad, like really, really bad. I always change my style. Again, you will know that if you've been here a while. I change my hobbies, I change my interests, all those kind of things. When it comes to style, for example, I've had every style under the sun. I made a video about my style evolution, you can watch that on my channel if you want. It's actually a really great video. I'm really proud of that. And as you can see, I've had every style. I've been rockabilly, I've been punk, I've been elegant goth, I've been cyber goth, I've been Lolita, both gothic and sweet Lolita. I've been normal, I've been like scene emo, I've been everything. I've had every style ever because I see something, like I will see an Instagrammer or a YouTuber with that kind of style and I'll be like, that is me. I love that style. And if I try that on myself, I will probably finally feel like me. I will probably finally feel like I found my identity. I think like that is clearly my style. That is clearly me. That's my identity right there. But then when I try it on, I feel like that for like a week or two. Sometimes it's been longer. Like there's some of my styles like Lolita that lasted a very long time. But I will always end up feeling like this is just me no more. Like it will literally be one day to the other where I'm like, alright, fuck this shit. I don't want to do this anymore. You know, it's so weird. It feels so weird. It's hard still. It is. Because I still feel like there's missing something, if you know what I mean. But yeah, that's just how it is. I don't think I will ever get rid of this feeling. And the same with like subjects that I find interesting. Like at some point I will hear a little bit about serial killers and then I'll be like, oh, that's my thing. I'm going to be one of those people who are very much into serial killers and researching it. But then again, a week or two later, I'll not give a shit about serial killers anymore. So, you know, those kind of things. It's also with things I find interesting. I don't know what I find interesting sometimes because I have that feeling of like, is this me? Is this something that I find interesting? Is this my identity? Another example is with jobs and education. So I was at this place. I'm not going to get into the whole thing, but in Denmark, you know, if you don't have a job, you go to this place that helps you get jobs. And I don't know. Yeah, it's a bunch of things. But I was at this place and they asked me to make a list of jobs that I could see myself working as. And then there is this website in Denmark where you can see all the jobs. Like literally every single job that exists in Denmark and that is like officially that's a job. So there's quite a lot on there. And usually, the lady told me that usually most people find about maybe 5 to 10 jobs that they could see themselves at. Some, usually it's a little less than that, but average is about 5 to 10 jobs. I think I counted 31. 31 jobs. And that's the whole thing again. I looked at this list of jobs and I saw like museum guard, for example. That was one of them. And I was like, that's totally me. As if I was made to just walk around a museum and making sure people didn't steal shit. Like, I don't know, but it's one of those things like I see the word and I read the description and my brain is like, that is you. You finally found your identity. That is so you. And then a week later again, I think back and I'm like, what the fuck? I also had a mortician. And that one I based on that, you know, I like the macabre, the kind of dark gothic things. So my brain was like, that is so you. That is so you. That's so you. Oh my god, it's just perfect. That's your identity. But my stupid brain just didn't go back and think like, alright, but you also have to sit there and listen to people talk about their dead family members. And also if it's children or loved ones, which I have a hard time. Every time I hear about a dead child or a dead husband or wife, I cannot handle it. I have a husband and I have a son. I love them both so incredibly much. So every time I hear about the death of someone like them, I cannot handle it. I like die inside. So, but my stupid brain didn't think of that. Like, being a mortician is the worst job for someone with borderline. I will get into that later on why it is. And also you have to touch dead bodies, which I cannot do that. No, I would never be able to do that. But that's the thing. I would look at the word, read the description, I would be like, I finally found my identity. I finally found my job identity. Because I just can't find my identity. It's so hard. I have to try all these different things, hoping that one day I will try something and I'm like, that, right there, that is me. But it just never seems to happen. The last thing with identities is something that I'm probably, some of you guys are gonna be a little disappointed in me, and I understand that. I just want to say it's not my fault in a way. I don't know. I'm not gender fluid. I thought that. I've made videos about that on my channel, talking about it, but I'm not. And I only recently found out. So it's not because I've been lying to you guys, it's because my brain has tricked me into thinking that I was this, because it's finally found something that could be my identity, that could be my quirky thing, I guess. I don't know. And I felt horrible when I found out. I felt horrible when I actually thought about it, and I was like, wait, I don't have this. I'm not gender fluid. It's one of those things, like, I saw the word and I heard someone describe what it was, and somehow I could make the connection between that and myself. I just saw kind of what it was a little bit, and I was like, well, I wear boys' clothes. And then that is when my brain tricks me and kind of fills in the gaps. Because when you're gender fluid, you feel like different genders all the time. Well, not all the time, but you know, it changes. And I never felt that. But sometimes I change my style, you know, and I sometimes like to wear more boyish clothes, and sometimes I'm very feminine. And then my brain just filled in the gap saying, well, you do also feel masculine when you wear those clothes. Which is a lie. I don't do that. But, yeah. I'm so sorry that, yeah, I don't even know what to say. A part of me feels like I shouldn't apologize because it's not my fault, but again, it's like, it just sucks. It's so embarrassing to sit here and say that. But yeah, that is something that borderline does, is find something and then it will fill in the gaps. So you will actually think that that is what you like. And then, as I said, some things it will only take a few weeks before you don't like that anymore and don't think that's you anymore. And sometimes with stuff like the gender fluid, it will take quite a long time before you realize, hey, wait, this is not me, this is not my identity. The next thing is sensitivity to noises, to feelings and stuff like that. So these are like physical things. I'm very sensitive to loud sounds. I'm more sensitive than anyone else. Like if I have to use a machine that makes a loud noise, I have to really mentally prepare myself, because I know that this will suck. This will really fuck up in my head. It's not just like, oh, it's loud, it's uncomfortable. It's like, it really stresses me out. I can sit down and cry if I hear one of those loud noises and I'm not prepared for it. So that is something, like loud noises, I'm very sensitive to. Not when it's music or concerts, that's differently. But again, I think that's because I prepare myself to do that. Because I can't listen to loud music or just music in general for that long. I love music. I'm a music kind of gal. I sing, I've been in musicals, I love music, but I just can't too much at a time. And also, it sounds so stupid, but if someone coughs really loud or sneezes really loud, I get really fucking angry. I get that feeling of like, oh, it's so uncomfortable. And then I get angry because I'm like, why the fuck can you not control your cough or your sneeze? I'm the type of person who sneezes very quietly. I make very small, quiet sneezes usually. And when I cough, I'm not one of those who just goes fucking crazy. Like, I also try to keep it down because that's what's comfortable for me. So whenever someone is not doing that, not trying to keep it down, I get angry at them. I don't show it. I never shown it because it's so embarrassing and I know it's not something to get angry about. But I get that really frustrating feeling of like, why the fuck can you not sneeze just a little bit more quiet? You do not need to tell the entire world that you're sneezing. I don't need to hear that. I don't know why it annoys me so much, but it just, it's so uncomfortable when people sneeze loud or cough loud, or even if they have a really loud laugh. It's just, it's too much. I cannot deal with like those loud noises, especially not if they're sudden, like a sneeze or a cough. Some are sensitive to taste. I am at that as well, actually, now that I think about it. I'm very sensitive when it comes to like spicy things. Very, very, very sensitive. Another thing is, you know, it comes and goes with these kind of things sometimes. Usually with the sound, it's always there. I'm always very sensitive to sounds. But when it comes to touching me, that comes and goes. Sometimes, like, I'm a very cuddly person. I love cuddling. But sometimes I'm so sensitive that I do want to cuddle, but only if we lay completely still. Like sometimes when I'm in one of these extra sensitive modes, I guess, my husband kissing me on the cheek can really like frustrate me. And I hate saying that because I love getting kisses from my husband. But when I'm in one of these modes, as I said, it's like the feeling of his beard scratching me is like so annoying and so irritable, and the sound of the kissing noise very close to my ear, it's too much. You know, it's just too much, and I cannot deal with it, and I cannot handle it, and it's like not fun. But luckily this doesn't happen a lot. But I do get episodes where I am this extra sensitive, especially in the evening when I'm really tired. Or if he's stroking my arm a little bit, I'm like, oh, stop it, don't touch me. It tickles, and I've always been very ticklish. I guess that may be also something to do with that. I don't know. I've always been so ticklish. So when I'm extra sensitive and he touches me and like strokes my arm, it's like, I can't handle it. And then the last thing in this category is that I'm very sensitive to cold. People with borderline can be very sensitive to cold or heat or both. Luckily I don't have both. I'm only very sensitive to cold. I'm always cold. Always goddamn cold. It has to be like very, very, very warm before I get warm and sweaty. But I'm always cold. So the next thing is the feeling of abandonment. Well, not the feeling of being abandoned, but the fear of being abandoned. Is basically you having an irrational fear of being abandoned. Like obviously all of us fear that we will be abandoned by our partner, or that our parents or siblings or friends, we all have that to a certain degree. But I have it so much that I actually believe in it sometimes. I don't know why. I've never had a reason to believe that my husband will leave me, but sometimes I get that strong feeling like, that's it. Tomorrow when I wake up, he's gone. And it doesn't even have to be after a fight. We never really have fights. We have very, very few fights because we're so good at communicating and all that. But so it doesn't even have to be after one of those discussions or fights or anything. Like I can just lay in bed one night and be like, he's probably gone tomorrow. Like, it sucks so badly. One of my sisters is 15. We've always been very close. When she was small, she looked up to me so much. And now that she's older, we're just like best friends, pretty much. But because she's 15, she also has her own friends. And that makes me insecure as hell. And it's so dumb. I know that, of course, I want her to have her own friends. I'm not saying that she shouldn't have friends. I'm so happy that she has so many friends, and such good friends. I'm very happy for her. Why can my brain not tell me that my sister, she's my sister, she can't leave me. She's living at my mom's house because she's 15. I see her all the time. She can't just leave me because she got new friends. I don't know. I will always be her sister. I don't know why it bothers me so much. An example of being abandoned, especially by my husband, that's the worst, it's a long time ago. We had a small fight. It wasn't so much a fight, it was more like we both got really sad and upset, but not like angry at each other. That's the thing, we don't really fight because we don't yell at each other and being angry at each other that way. But anyway, it was an episode, and I went into the bedroom because I needed to like, and I cried, and then I heard the door, and my husband left. Now, the fight, I don't even remember what it was about. It was something stupid. Obviously, he didn't leave me. But I thought that I would never see him again. Seriously. Which is dumb, because first of all, we lived in this apartment together. Even if he left me, he would come back for his stuff and stuff like that. But you know, in my brain, I was like, I'm never seeing him again. He just left me. I'm never seeing him. He broke up with me. This was before we were married. And I was like freaking out. It sits in me. It's very fucking horrible feeling to have, especially when you're married. Ugh, I hate feeling that way. But that is a part of it. Then the next thing is my surroundings. So for these last few years, I thought I had winter depression. Because I got very sad and frustrated in the winter. So obviously, I guess that's winter depression. But because of my borderline, I found out that it's just my borderline. The thing is that whenever I would look outside and see snow, I hate snow with a passion. I would get so upset, like just seeing snow or just hearing the news anchor say that tomorrow it's going to snow. I would be so upset that I could cry all day. I would be depressed. I would not, like, I would almost get depressed. I would get so sad and frustrated and angry. And the same with Christmas decorations. I hate Christmas. Every time I saw Christmas decorations, I still feel like that, honestly. Or every time I heard a Christmas song, I just get so frustrated. I cannot, it just ruins my entire day. Like, I can have the best day ever walking down the street, being all happy-dabby, and then I will see a Christmas tree or a Santa or something, and it will just fuck up my day. Like, there's no saving, the rest of the day is ruined. Or the same thing, I can wake up and be so happy and be like, oh, I had the best sleep, today's going to be a good day, blah blah blah, and then look out the window, there's snow, alright, the day's cancelled, I'm just going to be sad all day instead. That's how much these surroundings affect me. But it also luckily does it with the positive things. Like, if I wake up and see the sun is shining, the sky's blue, it just fills me with happiness. Which is again why I thought I had winter depression, because it usually went away when all the Christmas stuff was gone and when the weather and the sun started coming out. So it also with good things. And whenever around Halloween, when I see Halloween decorations, I get so excited, I cannot even describe it. So I'm very sensitive to things around me, which is I think also why I have such an extreme decoration at home, I guess. I always had that. I always decorate my room and my old apartment and also this apartment like an extreme way. Like, everything had to be what I like. Even like the spoons, they have to be black because it matches everything. And I know some people do that even if they're on borderline, so I'm not saying like if you decorate your home in an extreme way you have borderline. But for me, in my situation, I think it is somewhat because of that. Like, every single thing in my apartment is something that makes me happy, which is also why it can annoy me very much if there's a mess, or if the kitchen isn't clean, or, well, if the apartment isn't clean. I can get very quickly very frustrated and annoyed because I need everything around me to be clean and to be nice looking and be good looking so I can be happy. If something is wrong, like if the weather isn't what I like, or if the decoration isn't what I like, or if it isn't as clean as I would like, you know? Another example is at the place, as I said, where you had to search the job things. That place, you know, it's a place, it's a building you go into. When I first heard about this, the person telling me about it was like, oh yeah, it's really nice, the people there are nice, it's just a small room where you sit and it's kind of cozy, you know, and there's tea and you can just chill, you know. Sounded great. I had an image in my head of like just chill hour, searching for jobs, just chilling, you know. When I got there, like, she was right, there was tea, the people were nice, pretty much, she was right, she wasn't lying. But it just wasn't as I pictured it. It was just white walls, a desk in the middle with some chairs around it. There was no decoration. There were a few pictures on the walls. They were really ugly, by the way. But that was it. Like, it was so plain, so boring, and I just crashed. So yeah, the surroundings affect me a lot. Another thing is the darkness. I'm scared of the dark. I still sleep with the lights on. Yeah, because that's who I am and how I am. And I think it's because I'm so sensitive to things around me that, you know, the dark for many people, most people, makes you uncomfortable, you know? Most people feel a little bit more uncomfortable if it's so dark, if it's very dark. But because I'm so extra sensitive, I feel very, very uncomfortable. And I feel so uncomfortable that it will trigger a anxiety or panic attack. I don't really know what to call it. I cannot be in a dark room, completely dark room, without getting some sort of anxiety, panic attack. Because it just makes me so uncomfortable, the darkness. And it's not because I'm like, oh, I think there's a monster on the bed, or I see someone in the corner. You know, it's just that uncomfortableness that the darkness gives me is so extreme for me that it will trigger an anxiety attack or a panic attack. Another thing is movies, for example. I get very triggered by certain movies. And a good example is Saw movies. I cannot watch that because I'm in the movie in a way. It feels like I'm in the movies. It feels like I'm watching these things happen right in front of me. Not behind a screen, but in real life. So whenever I watch something like Saw, where people are being tortured, I can't handle it. And it's not because of the gore. I can handle gore. I'm not one of those people who's like, ew, I'm going to throw up by watching this. Not at all. It doesn't affect me at all. Seeing blood and seeing guts and all that kind of stuff. I'm not affected by those things. It's the screams. Like, whenever someone screams in a movie, they have to stop. They have to do a quick scream and then stop. Then I can handle it. If they continue screaming for help, if they do it while you can see them being tortured in some way, I cannot. I'm just thinking about it, I'm almost crying right now. It's so stupid. I'm seriously, like, watching those movies. I'm choking up just thinking about it. How dumb is that? But seriously, I get scared. I get sad. I get all negative emotions you can have when I watch those kind of movies. It's not just because I don't like the movies. It's not just because, oh, I don't like to see blood and see people getting their skin ripped off. That doesn't affect me. It feels like someone is right in front of me being tortured. I guess that's the best way to explain it. And that's the thing with borderline. Like, you have the same feelings and emotions as everyone else. They're just more extreme. They're just more sensitive. So as I said, when someone feels scared of the dark, someone with borderline feels that like 100 times stronger and 100 times more. And that's something that's really frustrating about borderline, because when I explain like I don't like the dark, it's like, oh yeah, I don't like the dark either. Like, no one likes the dark. Everyone gets scared of the dark sometimes. And I'm like, no, honey, you don't understand. Or when I say that I don't like the Saw movies because I feel like, ooh, it upsets me when I see them being tortured, and people are like, oh yeah, I feel like that too. Those kind of movies aren't for everyone, I guess. It's like, no, Karen, you don't understand. Or, you know, the worst one is like, oh yeah, I also hate it when there's snow outside. It's just so unpractical. And I'm like, no, Karen, you don't get it. I literally want to die when it's snowing. The next thing is other people's feelings. Just like the surroundings can have a big effect on my feelings, other people's emotions can do that. It's pretty much the same as I said before with the whole, like, I get very affected by the outside world. That's also with people's feelings. If someone is sad, I get sad. If someone is happy, I can very easily get happy. If someone is angry, I can very easily get angry. So I'm not going to go too much into that, because it's the same thing with the whole surrounding things. Like, yeah, someone is sad, I get very sad. And again, more than normal people. Obviously, if someone you love is sad, you will also get sad. But for me, it's like, I'm just sponging it in, I guess you can say. I don't know if that's the right word. I'm just taking it all in. I'm just taking all their emotions. It's so annoying. Especially, a great example is James the other day. He was crying so much one evening. And every parent gets upset when their child is sad. And this was because he had something with his stomach, so he was in pain, and there was nothing we could do. We just had to wait it out, and just had to comfort him as much as we could. I never cried so much in my life. And it feels kind of stupid now, because, you know, everyone gets stomach pains. Especially babies. Like, they're so sensitive to things with their stomach. But I got so upset. When he had to get his vaccines, his first vaccines, I didn't cry because I was in a public place, and when I'm in a public place, my emotion just like shuts down. There's nothing to do. But it was so hard. When I was in the bathroom afterwards, like changing his diaper and calming him down, I was shaking. Because I had so many feelings, and he was so sad because it hurt so bad to get vaccinated, especially on a little baby who don't know what's going on. It was hard for me. It was very hard for me to see that. So the next thing is my own emotions. So when you have borderline, as I said, you have the same emotions as everyone else. They're just more extreme. And they can change more quickly. I very often got very frustrated very quickly over nothing. And I very often get very angry and irritated over nothing. And sadly, it's only the negative things when it comes to me. And I also get very sad over nothing. It's so annoying. If I'm doing a project and something goes wrong, I shut down. I cannot do it anymore. I cannot finish it. If I have to put up some shelves or something and I drop the nail, or I accidentally do it the wrong place, so I have to redo it, I can't. I get so frustrated that I just want to sit down and cry. Even though I love doing those kind of things. I love doing DIYs. I love collecting furniture and stuff. And I can be all happy singing along, just putting up some shelves, blah blah blah, and then something happens and I'm like, fuck this. I don't want to do this. I just want to throw it out the window. But there is something that's positive. When I'm happy, I'm really happy. I'm very enthusiastic. Which is kind of annoying, I guess, sometimes, because my husband and my sister especially are not that enthusiastic about things. They're kind of more normal, I guess. Whenever I'm like, I had the best idea to what we're going to do today, we're going to do this, and doesn't that sound amazing? I'm like, ooh, all over the place. And my husband or my sister, especially those two, will just be like, oh yeah, that sounds fun, I guess. And that is like, no, it does not sound fun, I guess. It sounds fucking incredibly amazing and magically and fun and just awesome. So yeah, that's again, same feelings as everyone else, just a little more extreme. And you can definitely feel that whenever I'm in a really happy place and have gotten a really good idea to something fun to do, I will be jumping on the walls. Another thing with my emotions is that it's very hard for me to show them. I don't know, if I'm seeing something, if I'm watching a funny movie or stand-up comedy thing, I can be laughing hysterically on the inside. Like, I can be rolling on the floor laughing on the inside, but on the outside, I'll just have my resting bitch face. The problem with this is that I have a resting bitch face. I have a really extreme resting bitch face because that's just how my face looks, I guess. I don't know. So whenever we're watching a funny movie and I'm just sitting there like, it just looks like I'm not having a good time, even though on the inside I'm like cracking up, I'm having the best time ever. It's kind of difficult, especially when you have a baby, because with a baby you have to be like very extreme in your facial expression, which sucks because it's really hard for me. I can be sitting there having the best time ever with James, my son, and we can be happy and I can be calm and happy, but I have to ask my husband to take him because I do not have the energy to express the things I need to express when I'm with a baby. And even though I'm feeling good, I'm happy and we're so comfy and having fun, it's just not fair to James because he doesn't understand it. He doesn't understand why mommy all of a sudden is sitting there like nothing. On the inside I'm screaming with happiness, but yeah, on the outside I'm just not, and a baby doesn't understand that. So that's really hard. The last thing is dissociation. This is something that I actually very recently found out that I had. When I researched about borderline, I was like, I don't think I have this. I can't really relate. But then I really started noticing, especially lately, that I've been doing it a lot. And I guess it's because I thought it was something else when I read about it. I didn't really understand it that much. But now that I've experienced it a lot lately, and I read it through again and heard someone else explain it, I'm like, oh shit, I do actually have that. It's very hard to explain, which is also why I didn't really understand it, because everyone else explaining it was also like, I don't know how to explain this. It's just weird. But basically, you get a feeling of like not being in your body, especially during stressful times, which is when it happens to me. If I'm sitting there like, alright, I have to do something. I have to do the dishes. I have to make some bottles or some food for James, or I have to go to bed. Even that, I can be sitting there on the couch and my brain will 1 second will be like, alright, I have to do this and this and this, and that's it. And then the other second, like the next second, I will be like just frozen there. It's so weird. It feels so weird. And like other people can tell me as well. Other people can be like, oh, can you get up and do that? And my body will just be like, nothing. It's very hard to explain this. It feels so surreal. It feels like you're not in your body, as I said. It feels like the whole world around you is not real in a way. It's so weird. Such a weird feeling. But I definitely have that, and especially lately, and it's so frustrating. So as I was going through this list, there were a few things that I decided not to talk about in this video because it's smaller things that are kind of almost the same as some of the other things, or kind of things that it's hard to explain or something like that. But these are like the main things. These things that I explained are the biggest things, are the things that are the biggest things in my life, and the biggest, yeah, obstacles in my life, I guess you can say. So that's why I choose to talk about those. But I do have a few smaller symptoms as well, but I also didn't want this video to be too long and be with like the small things. Because I read through this and I was like, alright, that point isn't really that important anyway. So these are most of my symptoms. These are the worst symptoms and the ones that I struggle with the most, and also the ones that are very normal and very typical for people with borderline. It feels really good to say it. It doesn't feel good to have this disorder. But anyway, yeah. How did I tell people? So as I said, I wrote it down in detail, every symptom I had, and explained it and all that. And when I had to tell people, I just printed it out and handed it to them. Seriously, that is the best way to do it, I think. Because when you have to explain it to people, like, explain all these symptoms, you have to memorize that and explain it to someone that you love who also has questions once in a while doing it. It's too much. And again, you can start one sentence and then not finish it because you remember something else you need to say as well. It's a mess. So if you have to tell someone some sort of mental health problem, like your mom or someone, that you have this, write it down. Write every symptom down and then say, read this. If you have any questions, ask me afterwards and I'll answer them. It was a really great way. So that's what I'm doing, and how I'm dealing with it. I'm currently in therapy, which I've been for a while, for other problems. So yeah, just taking it one day at a time. Just getting the diagnosis is really nice. Like, it's not fun to have this diagnosis, but it's nice to know that it has a name and that it's not me who's a fucked up human being, and who's overly sensitive. It's not my fault. It's not my, me who's just dumb. It's nice to know that it is something that's wrong with me and it's not like my fault in a way. Anyway, this was a really long video. My throat is like, ugh. So I have to go now. But if you have any questions at all, you can leave them in the comments down below and I'll answer them as good as I can. Press the like button if you like this video. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel as well, and thank you for watching.